Hi, Matt Schwartz, with Chair of the Worksite Wellness Council of Louisville, here with Dr. Sonya and Dr. Todd Wolter with Wolter Chiropractic. We just finished up a great session talking about really musculoskeletal issues in the workplace. And so let me just jump in with a question. Dr. Sonya talked about the fact that this is obviously a big issue, big cost challenge for employers. What do you see? What were some of the hit some of the statistics that we talked about there?
Sure. So we talked about fibromyalgia, headaches, osteoarthritis versus rheumatoid, low back pain, and the impact that it's having on our companies and their claims.
So I know, and we actually had a discussion. It was actually at the end, but talking about what could people, where could you look for this type of information? What should employers be looking at to determine, hey, is this an issue for us, and where should we focus?
Right. So they should be looking at their claims and what are their top areas where they're having musculoskeletal claims. Then we talked about some holistic ways that they can reduce some of those claims and some of the things that they're actively doing.
Right, and actually they talked. Some of the ideas came up not just looking at claims, but even looking at PTO and short-term disability claims and so on, just to be able to figure out where those things are. So one of the other interesting things that I heard was about, you talked about what you bring in, the interaction between your internal and external. And you talked about, the times that, when you eat, you bring things into your body and it has an impact on a lot of systems. So it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think we don't necessarily automatically think of our nutrition and then the musculoskeletal conditions, but like Dr. Sonya spent a lot of time talking about, inflammation is a big key component of that. And what we repeatedly expose ourselves to through our nutrition has a huge impact on inflammation in our body, and then in turn has a huge impact on those musculoskeletal conditions. So that's why it's exciting for me to be here to see you guys try to change that for people to understand that it really requires a wellness approach, and it's not only the stretching and exercise is important, but also how they're thinking, how they're eating. All those other things play an important role in really making an impact for companies, saving money, having a better quality of life for their employees. Adding that piece in there is huge.
And specifically on that, there were things that the question came up about inflammatory foods, things that you can eat or not eat. You talked about omega-6s and 3s, and I'm not sure I keep up with all of it, but it was the idea of having a comparable ratio.
Correct.
And so there were certain things you said, well, here's some things that really tend to cause inflammation that you should avoid. Right. So that might be an interesting.
Yeah, so we always talk about the standard American diet, and if we use that as an acronym, it comes out as SAD, and you think about kind of what we eat oftentimes, the fast foods, the convenience foods, the restaurant foods. There's 5 key areas that we normally look at that are pro-inflammatory, that cause a lot of inflammation. They would be grains, dairy, sugar, alcohol, and then what we call industrial seed oils. Those are your soybean oils, your vegetable oils, the oils that are used in processed, fried, your restaurant foods oftentimes. Those can have a huge impact on inflammation. So reducing those in your diet can have a big impact on your overall health and well-being.
So then maybe the last thing to bring up is we talked about the different points of care. Right, and obviously people know the regular medical side of things, and what jumped out at me, you had a chart that showed about going to an orthopedist at the first point of care in whatever percentage of cases leads to surgery, which isn't necessarily always effective. It's sometimes the right thing to do, but obviously on down to chiropractic care that was a lower cost. And so I guess give me some comments on that concept.
Sure. Well, in Louisville, we are one of the highest in the nation for back pain low back surgeries. And according to Spine, which is the medical journal, if they see an orthopedist first as their first point of contact, they're actually 43% more likely to have low back surgery versus seeing a chiropractor first, which is 1.5%. And then with surgery, they're actually high likelihood to have repeat surgery and then go on disability, not to mention the increase of narcotics.
So I know that you all do education, and that's certainly something we talked about. How could you integrate this concept into workplace wellness? And really it just has to do with probably education, bringing it up. There are opportunities for that. So we certainly appreciate you all taking time to come in and share with us this morning. And,
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And if you missed it, we're here the third Thursday of every month at Baptist East Milestone, and we'll look forward to seeing you at a future session.